Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. It's been a bit of a hectic morning. Talking to my publisher right now about my next book, Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games. Oh, it's tough working with a lot of people. Collaboration is tough, but I think at the end of the day, it is worth the effort. Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em is a big book. It's going to be about 500 pages with loads of content, much of which is not by me. Turns out the publisher really wants the pile ranges in a specific manner. We contacted the authors. There's about 10-ish authors, all world-class online players. And inevitably, some of them are like, oh, things have changed a little bit since I wrote my chapter. Because it's been, 3-4 months. Now they want to make edits. And then you make edits, and the book was basically done. Now the book's not basically done. You know how it goes. How our spin and goes for building bankrolls, awful. Awful, awful. The reason spin and goes are awful for building a bankroll is because, well, think about it. When you play spin and goes, usually you lose. It's kind of like a poker tournament, right? Usually you trickle down, trickle down, trickle down, trickle down, and then you spike and get lucky every once in a while when you get a good spin. Problem is a lot of the spin and goes now are making it like where the big spins don't happen nearly as often, and that's a problem. Is this a rerun? No, we're live. We only do reruns when I'm not available. I was not available on Monday because James got sick, and I had to take him to the doctor. He had pink eye, but now he's good to go. My wife's out of town, so I'm in charge. Took James to school this morning. Life is busy. Get Alex Fitzgerald to start an Instagram live like me. Well, maybe he will, maybe he won't. Speaking of Alex Fitzgerald, we are giving away one of his books, along with 5 other books, including Modern Poker Theory. You see it right back over there. And 4 of my books. So check that out at pokercoaching.com/giveaway. We have lots of giveaways coming up. I'm actually in the process of talking with some influencers to try to give away a $10,000 buy-in World Series of Poker main event seat. I'll be giving that away. It's going to happen 95% of the time. Even if I have to do it by just myself, I'll do it. Because look, I appreciate all of you, and I want to put one of you in the main event, give you a little bit of coaching, have breakfast the day of the main event, etc., etc. So someone's going to win that. I don't know who it's going to be. But hope they play poker well, and I hope they win the main event. That'd be a good story. As Kevin says, click like, click subscribe, share it with your friends. Believe it or not, that actually goes a long way to helping the YouTube algorithm know that people like my stuff. Because if people don't like my stuff, then YouTube's not going to share it. What's going on with my shirt here? All right, today we're going to talk about how to grow a $100,000 bankroll from playing cash games. Okay? This applies to tournaments a little bit, but not quite as much. And I would generally say that tournaments, in general, are not a great way to build a bankroll unless you are purely gambling to some extent. And the reason is because you need to put in a lot of volume in tournaments to actually get the results based on your return on investment. And for example, say you're playing 3,000 person tournaments on the major online sites. Well, when do you actually win? The answer is not very often, right? If you're good, you win the tournament 1 in 1,500 times. 1 in 1,500 is not a lot. So if you're not winning a lot, that means you have to play a load of tournaments. And kind of like spin and goes that were mentioned at the top of the show, your bankroll usually trickles down, trickles down, trickles down, and then you spike something. Then it trickles down, trickles down, trickles down, then you spike something. And a lot of people don't like those quote-unquote downswings. A lot of people like to be up all the time, and when you play tournaments, very rarely are you actually up or at your peak earnings, right? And that's important to recognize. And especially if you start moving up in stakes and start playing higher buy-ins, then you can't even put in the volume you want at the buy-ins you want, and then you have a problem where you have to play lower. Then you may randomly spike in the small tournaments. I actually ran into this issue a few times in my career where I was playing buy-ins of $500 to $25,000 because I was bankrolled for $10,000 tournaments, and there's not enough $10,000 tournaments to go around. So you just play everything. And inevitably, I would win about 2.5 tournaments a year, but if you win the $500 tournaments and lose all the $25,000 tournaments, well, you're going to have a bad year. And if you spike the $25,000 tournaments and lose all the $500 tournaments, you win all the money. Anyway, we're not going to talk about tournaments today. We're going to talk about cash games. Because in my mind, that is the most consistent way to grow a bankroll today. And the other option is sit and goes to grow a bankroll today, because sit and goes are basically very small field tournaments. That's how I grew my bankroll back in the day. But sit and goes at the higher and middle stakes are kind of dead. So now the amount you can win from those long term is very capped, whereas the amount you can win from cash games is not so capped, because you can play cash games up to the very, very high stakes, especially in live poker if you cultivate a good game. So if you want to develop skills that will last you throughout your entire poker career, I think cash games are probably where you want to start. But if you're not going to do that, if you want to play tournaments long term, I would tell you to start by focusing on sit and goes, because sit and goes are basically like final tables. And if you're playing the final tables, you get experience for that, and that becomes very relevant. You'll find actually today, a lot of the biggest winners in tournaments are sit and go players. Well, past sit and go players. And that's because they understand payout implications very, very well, and that is highly important if you're playing tournaments. The kids have messed around with my set back here. I know y'all think it's a green screen, but it's not. Everything's misplaced. I actually have a box of valuable Magic cards on the floor that are like quote-unquote for sale. Thomas came in here the other day. James has never touched them. Thomas came in here and grabbed all of them and just started throwing them around. That's not good. Thomas is the one who's giving me trouble. Actually, he's not. Thomas is such a sweet boy. He's a very, very good boy. A+ baby. All right. How do we go a bankroll from cash games? First things first, start small. If you can't beat the small stakes, you're not going to beat the big stakes. There are obviously exceptions to this, such as when the rake is gigantic. But if you cannot beat the small stakes games, you are probably not good enough to beat the high stakes games. You're just not. You have to accept that. And if you're not winning at the small stakes games, it kind of implies you're actually not very good. So if you're not very good, hate to break it to you, why would you think that you should play higher and higher and try to gamble, right? So you need to find a game you can beat. That is very important. Whenever you're playing cash games, find a game you can beat and play it a lot. Very, very important, right? So, first thing I would tell you to do, make sure you play at least somewhat properly bankrolled. Go read jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. It's my bankroll Bible. It's about 20 pages long. Half of it's on cash games, half of it's on tournaments. So, read the part on cash games if that's what you're interested in. And what I would generally suggest you do is start at the smallest stake. Now, if you're playing online, you can probably play like 1 cent, 2 cent. I don't think you need to play 1 cent, 2 cent. But like, let's say you have a job making, I don't know, $15 an hour. And let's say you can realistically deposit $300 a month into online poker. I would tell you to start playing like 5 cent, 10 cent. That'll give you 30 buy-ins to start, which is not necessarily an adequate bankroll, but it's a decent enough bankroll to where if you can play 5 cent, 10 cent, you'll grow it up slowly, and inevitably you'll either grow it up or you won't. If you have a little bit more disposable income, it's probably okay to start a little bit bigger, right? Because at the end of the day, if you have, like, let's say $1,000 in disposable income a month, if you lose 500 of it playing online poker, it's not that big of a deal. But what a lot of people do wrong is, let's say you do have that $15 an hour job and you're keeping your expenses low, which is very important if you're trying to make any money. If you're trying to accumulate any wealth, you have to not spend it, right? I would suggest that you play as if you are a professional, at least as if you're trying to take it professionally. I would not suggest you put $300 online and just start playing 50 cent dollar with 3 buy-ins. It's very rarely going to go well. You are going to go on downswings at some point. The problem is you're going to go on a 3 buy-in downswing frequently, okay? And then, if you do that for the month and you're out of money, you're done. You don't get to play anymore. You don't get any more experience, which is bad, right? Next, if you do run it up to, let's say, 5 buy-ins or 8 buy-ins, you're still going to go on 8 buy-in downswings sometimes, and then you're broke again. So inevitably what happens is you end up without a lot of experience. And experience is very important. Realize your goal when you're first starting poker is to not necessarily win as much money as possible, but it is to get as good as possible so that you can win as much money as possible later, which is what I'm going to be talking about in a bit. So, I would tell you generally want to keep about 25 buy-ins at a minimum for basically all games besides the ultra soft live cash games. If you're playing live poker, by the way, the smallest you can start out realistically in most casinos is $1, $2. It means you need about $5,000. I don't think you necessarily need 5,000, but I do think if you don't want to have a very high risk of ruin, I think you need about 3,000. And if you do go and play and you lose $3,000, you're probably not a winning player. Don't think that you are. So what I would suggest you do, start small and grow that bankroll to about 40 buy-ins. Okay? If you do that, if you're playing 1-2, if you grow your $5,000 to $8,000, you at least have a bit of a track record to show that you have some skills, right? You may not be the best player in the world, but you are decent enough. And then what I suggest you do, once you have about 40 buy-ins online, say you're starting at, I don't know, 5 cents, 10 cents, say you get up to $400 from your $300 deposit, I would tell you to move up to the next highest stake, which would be 10 cent, 25 cent online, or $2, $5 live. And then give yourself a 2 buy-in shot. 200 big blinds. Not 2 buy-ins necessarily, 200 big blinds. It's not a lot. It's not a big shot. But what I would tell you to do is play the next highest stake during the softest time. Usually that's going to be like Saturday night or Friday night, usually in the late evenings, or when there's just like a super fish in the game that you may know. Maybe there's a fish at your current game who moves up and plays the bigger game for whatever reason. Play at the softest time. That's going to give you a bit of a cushion so that you're probably going to be profitable in that game. And if you play that game and you do well, you will move up. Say you do buy in there and you immediately win 2, 3, 8, 10 buy-ins. Well, now just keep playing that. Because if you think about it, if we had 40 buy-ins, now we have about 20 buy-ins. 20 buy-ins, we run it up to 25. Now we're actually properly bankrolled for that game. Now, this is very important. If you mess this up, you will go broke over and over and over and over and over again. If you do happen to get down to 25 buy-ins at the previous stake, okay? You get back down to the 25 buy-ins at the previous stake, move back down. So if you are playing 2-5, maybe you had a successful shot, and you get down to $2,500, you got to go back to 1-2. So many players will inevitably get to 2-5, play 2-5 for a while, maybe 3 months, 5 months, a year, never really have a whole lot of traction one way or the other, and then get back down to $2,500. At that point, you must move back down to 1-2. If you lack the discipline to do that, you're going broke. You are going to go broke and you will never succeed at poker unless you just get ungodly lucky. Some people get ungodly lucky. I am trying to teach you to approach this as if you are a pro. So many people get the idea that you want to try to run it up. You want to spin up your money as fast as possible. But, well, those are gamblers, and I'm trying to teach you all to play the game effectively as a career so that you can play any game you want in the future with a nice edge. So, that is how I would suggest you take relatively aggressive shot taking early in your career when the money you're playing for is not like life-changing to you one way or the other. It's nice, it's important, right? It is a chunk of your disposable income, and you'd rather not lose it, but it's not just like absolutely detrimental if you do lose it. All of you are talking about American online poker sites for some reason. Realize none of them are great. They all may randomly take your money. When I say take your money, I mean they may randomly close. Almost all poker sites that have operated in America have closed at some point, and some of them refund the players' money, some of them don't. I realize now a lot of the sites are accepting payments like Bitcoin, which I think is nice and convenient. A lot of them are paying that out, no problem at the moment. But a lot of the sites have problems. You all are mentioning it in the chat. Some of the sites have bots. Some of the sites take forever to pay. Some of the sites just have no games, etc., etc. So there's a lot of problems with poker in America at the moment. If I had to tell you to play on one, it would be Bovada, because they've actually done a great job of skirting the law for a very long time. They're the one that, as far as I know, has been around the longest, and there you go. I don't know how many games they have, though, so I mean, I don't play on any of these. I would not put a dime in any of these poker sites. So that's my experience. I've been very helpful to you. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're here today. Good morning, good morning. All right, 25 buy-ins to 40 buy-ins to go up in stakes, risking down to 25 buy-ins and move down. Or if you get down to 25 buy-ins at the current stake, you move down. So yeah, let's just take a 1-2 example for this, okay? You start playing 1-2 with, let's say, $3,000. You get up to about $8,000, 40 buy-ins, okay? So that means you've won $2,500 at $1, $3, or $1, $2, right? It's pretty good. So now, once you have $8,000, I would tell you to take $1,000 of that $8,000 and set it aside for a shot, right? and you're going to take a shot at 2-5 or 2-4 or whatever they have at your casino. And if it goes poorly, if you lose that $1,000, move back down, keep grinding up. And then you may decide, I'm going to take another shot when I get back to 8,000, or I'm going to inevitably play till I get to 10,000 and then take a shot again. Depends on your finances and what you're trying to do. And then if you do play 2-5, if you ever get back down to 2,500 again, I'm sorry. If you ever get back down to probably about 3,000 again, I would definitely tell you to move down. When do you learn if I won the Poker Personality of the Year? We learn on, I think, March 2nd, something like that. Appreciate all of your support, by the way. Win or lose, it is great to know that you all appreciate my work. So thank you all very much for that. You have to be physically fit to be competitive. I don't necessarily think so. It's important to be physically fit. You'll live longer, you'll be healthier. You'll probably think more clearly. But is it mandatory? If you ask me the mandatory things you have to do to be a successful poker player, being in sick shape is not one of them. It's very helpful. If you look at a lot of the best players in the world, they're all physically fit. But I would definitely tell you need to know how to play poker well first, right? You need to have good bankroll management. You need to have a good mindset. And if your fitness is lacking, I mean, that's like number 5 or 6 on the list. Obviously a very important thing, though. I try to stay physically fit, right? It's important for life. But is it like a skill you must have to be a good poker player? No. If instead you ask about like basketball, do you need to be physically fit to be a basketball player? Yeah. You need to be physically fit to be a runner? Yeah. Poker player, not so much. Let's see. Speaking of Twitter, what is a dime? A dime is $1,000. A dime is never any other amount besides $1,000 in any poker vernacular or gambling vernacular. Ever. All right, let's talk about this real quick. Bankroll management in Texas is funny. In mini games, it's $300 cap, and then you can match the biggest stack. Understand, you can play 100 big blind poker for a long time. For the longest time in live poker, when I played 5-10 at Bellagio every day, I would buy in for $1,000. 100 big blinds. You can buy in for more. You can buy in for less. Unfortunately, I see the word unfortunately here and I said it. That's so weird. That's not shallow stacked. It's A-okay. You're allowed to play for 100 big blinds, right? If that's what you know how to play very well, better than everybody else, then that's great, right? Don't think that you're short stacked when you're playing 100 big blinds, because you're not. And if they're sitting there making it 15 big blinds pre-flop, great. Just get it all in with the best hand. You're going to print equity. It's like the best spot you can ask for. So you're not short stacked with 100 big blinds. Get that out of your head immediately. Should you buy in for the max of 100 big blinds? Depends on your skills, right? If you're the best 60 big blind poker player in the world, then buy in for 60 big blinds. Generally, though, you want to be deeper if you have an edge on your opponent. If you have a question, can you email me? Yes, support@pokercoaching.com. All right. Let's see. 3,000 big blinds guarantees you're never going broke. Does that apply even at the tiny stakes? Well, if you can move down, it applies, right? This is what I'm trying to tell all of you. If you ever get down to about 25 big blind, or 2,500 big blinds at any stake, move down. You must be disciplined and you must move down. Who are the biggest contributors to my overall poker philosophy? I don't know. All the great poker players. I have consumed so much information about poker from so many people that I definitely could not pinpoint any individual person. I'm trying to think, whose content do I like the most? Currently today it's Michael Acevedo, by a mile. Michael Acevedo he wrote Modern Poker Theory back here. I've studied basically every video he's made for the Poker backing site, and I've learned a ton because I am not like the most fundamentally sound GTO player who's ever existed, but I think I'm actually getting pretty close to it. It turns out since I've started studying his stuff a lot over the last 2 years, I've had great results, and I have just generally felt as if I know what I'm doing in a lot of these spots. I have a good framework developed, and I've taken that framework and I've shared it with all of you over at pokercoaching.com, and I hired Michael to be a coach. So far he's done, I think, 7 or 8 webinars for us, and he's continuing to do great work. Only 36 likes. Come on, everyone. Let's get real. If you don't appreciate me, just leave. If you do, well, then click a like button. It's easy. All right. So now you know how to take shots when you have a relatively small amount of money, a small buy-in, Small bankroll, playing buy-ins that are relatively small, okay? We know this. I've already explained it. Go back and rewatch this if you have not. Next, when you're moving up, in addition to just having the proper bankroll to move up, you also want to make sure you understand a few things. You want to understand why you are winning at your current stake. Why are you winning at your current stake? Figure out that. Because that's not going to be the same reason you're winning at the next highest stake, most likely. So if you're not winning at the next highest, what you want to do is you want to figure out why you're winning at the current stake and why the losers in the current stake are losing. Okay? It's very important. Next, as you move up, as soon as you move up, you need to immediately be assessing who the winning players are and who the losing players are, and why the winners are winning and why the losers are losing. You're going to find that in general, what happens is as you move up, players play better, right? At the small stakes games, you often win because your opponents play essentially... Basically, your opponents pay off too often on the river. What happens is they will play too wide of ranges, get to the river with a lot of stuff like top pair marginal kicker, and then not fold it. In the higher stakes games, though, people will start to make folds. So you win at... This is a generalization, but you win at small stakes by just playing better cards than your opponents. However, at the high stakes, you win because you make your opponents fold inappropriately. So in one game, you're winning because you just have better hands than them, which is why, tight, aggressive poker just crushes the small stakes. But as you move to the higher stakes games, you have to generally develop a more loose aggressive strategy. That's going to work against players who are a little bit too tight and a little bit too aggressive, right? And then as you move to the very high stakes, you're going to find that just the GTO strategy is often ideal. So what happens is you need to figure out how the winners at the next highest stake are beating the losers at the next highest stake, which implies what are the losers doing wrong, what are the winners doing to take advantage of that. And if you figure out those things, you're going to be able to implement that into your strategy. What happens to a lot of players is they can beat, let's say, 1-2 no limit, and then they try to use that exact same strategy at 2-5, and maybe even they have success at 2-5, but they move to 5-10, and they try to use that same strategy, and then very often they become losers at that game. And you're going to find that people typically move up until they become losers. And the reason is because they are not, well, first off, maybe they have ego problems. Get your ego out of poker immediately. But also because they think that they've developed a strategy from at 1-2 that will just beat all of poker, and that is not accurate. Okay, so let's see. One other thing, very important. You need to make sure that you do not cash out your bankroll. One of the quickest ways to not move up is to take the money and spend it on stuff. Went from 30 likes to 90 likes immediately. Well, thank you all very much for clicking the like button. See, it wasn't that hard, right? And now, YouTube's going to tell a few extra people that maybe they'll like me. So thank you for that. Which site should you play on if you're in America? I literally just said that. I said none of them are good. I said if you're going to choose one, I would choose Bovada. But look, in reality, keep the minimum on all of those sites. That's the answer. As long as you can easily deposit and cash out from the sites, put in what you're going to play with for the day, and then at the end of the day, take it out. Then they can't really get you. You still have to worry about bots and collusion and all that nonsense, because a lot of the sites in America are, I don't know if underfunded is the right word, but they definitely have not invested in the infrastructure to protect against various things like that. Anyway. James L. That might be my son. James L. You need to go back to school, please. You're supposed to be in school right now. I just dropped you off. I was writing a Valentine's Day card for his mom today. And I said, all right, let's try to write your name. And he scribbled his name. And we wrote James. I helped him. Obviously, he can't write yet. He's 3 years old. He's like, no, my name is James L. Because there are 2 Jameses in this class, James L and James H. Do we do live meetups? We do not. But as consideration, during this World Series, we're probably going to do some sort of a meetup game. Whatever that means. I don't even know what a meetup game means. We're going to go to a casino. We're going to meet up. We're going to play some poker. All right. So, if you cash out your bankroll, you're going to find you have a very difficult time moving up. I discussed this in my book. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Jonathan Little on Live No Limit Cash Games, Volume 1. Jonathan Little on Live No Limit Cash Games, Volume 1. I discuss the idea of moving up in stakes And I did some math. Basically, if you have two players, equal skill levels, equal run rates, equal amount of time playing, the player who cashes out moves up about twice as fast as the player who doesn't cash out. And I wasn't even saying doesn't cash out. I think I gave one player expenses of like $1,000 a month and another player expenses of like $3,000 a month. So, you know, not even like absurd amounts of money they're cashing out here. But if you cash out money, you are going to have a way more difficult time moving up. I actually remember this. I learned this very early. I was working at McDonald's. I was playing a little bit of poker, $1 buy-ins. And there was another guy who worked at McDonald's with me. He was also good at poker, and we played Magic too. And we would play. We were both like good at poker back then. I mean, sure we were awful, but you know, we were good compared to our opponents. And every time I won, I would take the money and I'd put it in a box, and I would keep it. Every time he won, he would buy either a new CD, he particularly liked Eminem, or he would buy some shoes. He particularly liked Air Jordans. And inevitably, I don't know where he is. I can guarantee he's not a good poker. He's not a winning poker player. But he never grew a bankroll, whereas by the time I was there, I probably had $500 or $1,000. Then I took all of that and I invested it into my into study. I bought books with it, because back then books was all there were to study poker. And I bought books with it, and I used that study to inevitably put some money online, and then you know, we succeeded. How much harder is online poker than live poker? Significantly tougher if you're playing, you know, comparing 1-2 to 1-2. 1-2 online is hard. 1-2 live is a joke. Which stakes are equal? 1-2 live is probably like, gosh, I don't even know, 5 cent, 10 cent online, something like that. Online poker is way more difficult than live poker. Look at this. You all click the like button a bunch of times, and now we have a lot more people here. Who'd have thought? YouTube's a genius out here. You click the like button, people come. You don't click the like button, people go away. You didn't know I play Magic. Yes, I have an extensive Magic the Gathering collection. Check out my Instagram, Daily Magic Muse, DAILYMAGICMUSE. Every day I post a fun Magic the Gathering card, just for fun, because I like it. You're going to find that if you want to get into content creation, find things that you are passionate about that you would do for completely free, and then do it. I play Vintage and Legacy pretty much only at this point. I have a load of cards. You may not believe this. There's a bunch of Magic the Gathering cards right there. There's a set of Tempest right there. I need to put it in a binder. You see it? You all can probably see it. There's a literal set of Mad Tempest right here. I need to put it into a binder. I have the binder right now there. I haven't done it yet. It's a bunch of cards there. I need to get altered and signed, etc., etc. Anyway, there you go. Check it out. All right. So, don't cash out. I realize that people have life expenses. The problem is a lot of people contact me saying, all right, I have a job, I'm not making a ton of money. I need to make an extra $500 per month. How do I do it? It's actually very difficult to do playing poker if you don't have any money and you are dependent on the money. You're going to find that if you are dependent on the money, that starts to affect your mindset. Let's see. There's my Instagram, Daily Magic News. Well, that's the Magic Instagram. Jay Cardshart is my other Instagram. I better type that too. Turns out I'm a more popular poker player than Magic player. Somehow, though, I have like 6,500 followers on my Daily Magic News account, which is kind of weird because all I do is just post a random card each day. When does GTO become important? I think it's very important to understand how to play fundamentally sound. I do not think it's important to use that against the vast majority of player. How do you pay your taxes? Hire an accountant. I use Teresa Fox. She is amazing, and I've never had any problems. My advice is awesome. You told me to stop paying off and fold when you're being raised. Your results are better. Good. Are you currently playing online live? No, right now I'm doing a Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch stream called A Little Coffee every day. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. I'm not playing poker. I am streaming with all of you. When I'm traveling and playing poker, I don't do the show. All right. What would you consider a good number of big blind per 100 at small stakes games? Depends on live or online. You have 14 big blinds per 100 at over 30K hands. That's good. Do that. Keep doing that. What fundamentals should you be studying? You should be studying all of them. Go to pokercoaching.com, go through the Cash Game Masterclass, and that alone will get you well up to speed. I have taken many players already. It's only been up for 6 months or so. And they've gone from not winning at poker to now They're winning like 50 bucks an hour at 2.5 because they studied. You struggle with counting combos. There's a video by Matt Affleck in pokercoaching.com on counting combos. Really, the tips for counting combos is you take the number of unseen cards and multiply the number of unseen cards for the others. So say you have, how many combinations of ace king are there, right? 4 aces times 4 kings, 4 times 4 is 16. If, let's say there's an ace on the board, there's only 3 aces left, 4 kings, 3 times 4 is 12. Let's say you have an ace in your hand, and there's an ace on the board, there's 2 aces left, 4 kings left, 2 times 4 is 8. There you go. For pairs, there's 6 of them pre-flop, or 6 of them if there are none seen, 3 if there's 1 on the board, 1 if there's 2 on the board. What are my thoughts on Poker Snowy? I think it's great. A little bit snug, but good. It'll probably help a lot of people get way better. Check out jonathanlittlepoker.com/pokersnowy. Maybe it's just /snowy, I'm not sure. And I have some videos of me playing around with it. All right, we're getting distracted. You got to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined. We're about to tell you how to make $100K a year playing poker and how to grow your bankroll to $100K. We've already told you how to move up, how to continuously grind it up, right? Go through that process of keep an adequate bankroll for the smaller game that you can always move down to, and then move up. Keep pushing. Inevitably, you will either get a good run or you will develop the skills to move up. And what will happen is you'll become a regular in the next highest stake. And you're going to find that all you need to do to make $100,000 playing poker is get to where you make $50 an hour and then play 40 hours a week and do that for a year. $50 an hour times 40 hours a week times 52 weeks a year, it's about $100,000. And there you have it. It's actually nice and easy. Back in the day, I used to sit at 5-10 no limit at Bellagio every day. I'd go there, I'd say from noon until midnight. I would play every single day. I would not take off days because I cared about winning the most money possible. And I would make about $30,000 a month, like clockwork. My biggest downswing was like $15K, which is, 15 buy-ins? 15 100 big blind buy-ins? I was buying in for maximum then, which was 1,500. But that was the biggest downswing. The games were very soft back then, and all you had to do was put your butt in the chair and play great for the entire time. If you did that, you were going to win a lot of money. I realize the games are a little bit tougher now, but you can still put your butt in a 5-10 no, or 2-5 no limit chair at Bellagio or any other major casino across the country or the world, and you can make 50 bucks an hour. I have many students who are doing it. I'm telling all of you, people who have gone through my cash game masterclass have gone from not winning at poker to now winning $50 an hour just over the course of the last few months. You may say, how can you move up so fast? Well, if you're normally playing 1-2 no limit, it takes you, if you're winning $20 an hour, it takes you 10 hours to get 1 buy-in. Okay? So that means if you put in 100 hours, you'll win 10 buy-ins. If you put in 250 hours, you'll win 25 buy-ins. That is a whole bankroll. It takes you 250 hours. Well, if you actually care about this and you're devoting a lot of time to this, you can put in 250 hours in what? 2 months? No problem. 40 hours a week is 160 hours a month. That's 320 hours every 2 months. It's not even full-time playing, right? You can literally double a 1-2 bankroll in that amount of time. In 2 months. So, you can triple it in 4 months. You can quadruple it in 6 months, assuming you don't even move up. If you just sit there, play with an edge, and do that. So, from there, you can move up to 5-10 or 2-5, right? And once you get to 2-5, if you're winning 50 bucks an hour, now you're winning literally about $8,000 a month. It's a pretty good win rate, right? You treat no limit games and spread limit games the same. I honestly have never played a spread limit game in my life. I'm not the best person to ask about this, but I think they're essentially similar. Different, but similar. When playing professionally, how do you go about taking money out of your bankroll to pay bills, expenses, etc.? I'm a little bit spoiled in that it's not bad, I just have enough money. I don't have to worry about balancing my checkbook, etc., etc. So if I need to pay something, I pay it. That said, how do you go about doing that? I would tell you again, keep expenses low. Keep expenses low. I cannot tell you any more to keep expenses low. Okay? Because I'll tell you what I did back in the day. Whenever I was winning $30,000 a month at Bellagio, you know what my expenses were? They were $2,000 a month. Two. Not 20, not 15, not 10, 2. So that means that basically all that money I'm winning goes right back into my bankroll from moving up. Eventually moved to 10-20. Eventually we started playing 200-400 because we were just adequately bankrolled, right? And that is very, very relevant. You think building a bankroll from $2 no limit online is achievable? Yes. Why not? Just put in the time. This is another important concept. You have to put in the time. So many people say, oh, I want to play 1 day a week for 3 hours and I'm not growing my bankroll very fast. What's going on? Well, the issue is you're not putting in time. Notice all of this is implied that you are putting in an adequate amount of volume. What I would tell you to do, if you have a regular life, I would tell you to partition 1 day a week to poker. When I say 1 day, like an actual full 1 day. And that means you're playing, 12 hours in that day? If you play 12 hours in that day, you do that 4 times a week, 4 times a month, then you're going to put in 48 hours a month, which is actually not minimal, right? It's a decent amount of volume for someone who has a life, has a lot going on. And if you can't devote 48 hours a month to poker, recognize it's going to take you a long time to move up. A long time ago, I made the mistake of doing a bankroll builder challenge when I didn't really want to do it because it's kind of a waste of time. And I decided I was going to play 5 cent, 10 cent no limit with a $300 buy-in. I'm going to play 1 hour a week. That was my mistake. I should have played more than 1 hour a week. I played 1 hour a week. Over the course of the year, I doubled the bankroll. And a lot of people looked at that and thought, that's not good. You only doubled your bankroll in a year? Well, yes, because I played literally 1 hour a week. If you play 1 hour a week, you're not going to get there. It's going to take you forever. Which, is fine. Realize if you're not putting in the volume, then you're not going to make any money. The nice thing about this, though, is that once you do start making $50 an hour, you're going to find that you can start moving away from your job. Assuming your job's not great. Now, if your job's great, you probably just want to keep your job. But let's say you are making $15 an hour working at the airport like I used to do. If you're making $50 an hour or $200 like I was back then, it doesn't make sense to keep that job anymore, right? Then you quit the job and you go and you start playing poker all the time. And you're going to find, especially when you don't have any money, like back in the day I had no money, literally none. When you're making $200 an hour, you're going to want to play a lot. At least if you care about accumulating a bankroll and setting yourself up for the future. And then you're just going to play all the time. I played literally all day, every day. For 3 years straight, I grinded online all day, every day. And because I wanted to make a lot of money, and I was making a lot of money. Is Galfond going to come back from being down 800K? No, absolutely not. In my mind, he's stone dead on challenge number 1. He should quit. He should actually concede because he's probably playing at a significant disadvantage. Sure, he's running bad, but when you're running bad and having a rough go at it, I would say to pack it up, realize you picked an opponent who was too tough for game number 1, move on to the next one. That said, huge props to him for getting out there, giving it a shot, and being very public and open about it, because that kind of thing takes lots of courage. But when you're given good odds, you need to make sure you have a reasonable edge. Unless, of course, you don't mind losing $5 million because you want to get publicity to your site. All right. Next. Some of you are mentioning people who spend their money on all sorts of stuff. Everyone's trying to spend their poker money. Please realize that the way you really move up quickly is by treating poker as a game. Like a game like a video game. When you play a video game, you're not playing it because you want to cash out your money from it. You're playing it because you like playing the video game and because you want to get a new high score. You want to do better than you did in the past. And that's exactly how I and a lot of the players who are the absolute crushers in poker today approached it a long time ago. And for example, when I used to play sit and goes all day, every day, I didn't cash out any money. I think the first time I cashed out money, I had $200,000 in my account and I cashed out $1,000. That was the first time I cashed out. I vividly remember, I'm like, I don't really want to make my score go down because I had 200K. I wanted to get it for like 500K, If you start taking money out, your score goes down. And I think what a lot of people instead think that they're supposed to do with their bankroll is they think I have money, so I'm supposed to spend it. But you need to take that money and roll it over continuously, over and over and over again, and continue building your bankroll. How many players were in my sit and goes? 9. 9 players were in my sit and goes. Someone asked, you don't suggest playing tournaments to build a bankroll? Please go back to the beginning of this episode and watch all of that. Watch all of that. Let's see. Everyone wants to talk about Galfan's challenge. I mean, what do you want to say? He's outmatched in this game. He should pack it up. He's going to lose way more than 3,000 a day if he's continuously playing. What are my thoughts on Party Poker dropping mini versions of the Million? I don't know what they're doing with the mini version of the Million. I don't know anything about this. I'm completely oblivious. If they're dropping it, I mean, I'm sure there's a reason. I know last time I was in Nottingham, where I got this Party Poker cup, by the way. And they had a mini main event, $1,000 buy-in with a million guarantee, so they need 1,000 players. They got 1,000 players, but then for fun, they decided to add 20 main event seats to the prize pool. 200,000 extra, just here, take 200K. And I was a fortunate beneficiary of it because you had to get in the top 20 places to collect the $10,000 seat, and I took 16th place. So thank you to Party Poker for the free $10,000 seat. If I had to go at it again with my $50 like I had when I started, what would I do? I would play slow cash games. I would never play the Zoom cash games because the Zoom cash games are way tougher than the slow cash games. I would instead play, what would I play? With $50 only, I'd play 1 cent, 2 cent. There you go, 25 buy-ins, play 1 cent, 2 cent, grind it up slowly. If you can't beat the 1 cent, 2 cent games, you're not very good at poker. And that's the gist of it. Why are the games harder on PokerStars than Party Poker? Because there's more regs on PokerStars than Party Poker. PokerStars does a few things that really cater to the regs. They let them use heads-up displays, right? They have the effectively legacy advantage of players playing on there for a long time. And they have a lot of consistent games, which attracts regs. So why is it harder? It's because the players are better on the site. If you're playing in tougher games, you should expect to win less. For example, if you go to Las Vegas, if you go and you sit down and you want to find a 5-10 game, if you go to Bellagio or Aria or Venetian or somewhere like that, the games are probably going to be at least somewhat tough. But if you randomly find a game at MGM or Paris or Caesars that's a 5-10 game, I can pretty much guarantee you that game is going to be softer than the other games. Why? Because it doesn't happen nearly as often and because it's usually built around a few gambling players. Where do you invest your money now? I have money in all sorts of stuff. I have money in Wealthfront, which is just ETFs. I have money in angel investments. I have money in gold. I have money in all sorts of stuff. Cash, US dollars. I have money in online poker sites, and that's not where you necessarily want to keep it, but I have money there. So that's that. I would generally suggest you just load your money into ETFs. That said, I think ETFs may be in for a world of hurt as they continue to accumulate a larger and larger chunk of the entire stock market. Because, well, that has to stop at some point. You may not know this, but ETFs used to own, like, none of the stock market. Now I think it's something like 40%, which I think is why you see a lot of these companies that are very highly valued continue to become more and more highly valued because people keep loading their money in and never cashing out. Like, I'm not cashing out my ETF money. It's in retirement. It's in my retirement fund. I'm not cashing it out for like 30 years. And there's a lot of people in the same boat as me, and that means a lot of money is going into companies that are relatively highly valued. Because when you invest in an ETF, you take, let's say you're buying 1% of every company. 1% of, let's say, Tesla is a lot of money. 1% of a cheaper stock is like way less, which results in more of the money that you're investing going into the highly valued company and less of the money you're investing going into the lower valued company, which keeps the lower valued companies lower valued and continues to jack up the prices of the higher valued companies. Anyway, we're talking about nonsense here. Well, I say nonsense. We're talking about things not related to building your bankroll. How many tournaments do you play a year? Depends. Are we counting online tournaments? Are we counting live tournaments? Facundo says, Coach, welcome, good morning. Why do people keep asking me what online site I play with in America? I don't play online poker from in America. Why? Because I don't like any of the sites. I already told you if I had to play, I'd play on Bovada. But I don't have to play, so I'm not going to play. If you had $1,000, where would I start? I would start at 25 cents, 50 cents. How many times a week would I play? Here is a question I get a lot. How many times per week would I play? Realize this is completely irrelevant. Gets me angry. Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll and read that. The amount of times you play doesn't matter. What matters is how many hours you're putting in, how many hands you're putting in. How many times a week would I play? As many as I can. Because you're trying to grow your bankroll as fast as you possibly can, right? Which side is the softest? The ones that don't have very many games that are often attached to a sports book or a casino. Because regs aren't going to go sit around and wait for a random game to start, right? What percent ROI can you expect if you play live tournaments once a week? Again, bad question. What does once a week matter? It doesn't. If I play tournaments once a week, my ROI is going to be way higher than the vast majority of players in the world. Why? Because I'm better than the vast majority of players in the world. If you're bad at poker and you play any, you're losing money. The number of times you play is irrelevant. Was that question just to tell me? That question maybe was just to tell me. Biggest difference between online cash and online tournament, or between cash live and cash online. Online players are way better. But yes, I would play in the slow cash games, not speed games. I would play in slow cash games. If you have a $1,000 bankroll playing live poker, realize you are drastically under bankrolled. So play the smallest game you can find, presumably 1-1 somewhere. That said, rake may be gigantic, and if the rake is gigantic, no one's going to win. How do you combat your bluffing instinct? I don't have a bluffing instinct. Naturally, I'm a nit. I have to make myself bluff more. So a better question for me is, how do I combat my nitty instinct? And the answer is study fundamentally sound poker and then play fundamentally sound. How are your taxes done on playing poker? I already answered your question. Get a good accountant, minus Teresa Fox. She does the taxes for many world-class poker players and gamblers, and pay them. I'm not a tax expert. And I have a business. I have employees. I have all sorts of stuff going on, right? I mean, my taxes are not easy. So, hire a professional. All right. Yeah, if you have a $1,000 bankroll live, I'd tell you to get a hold of more money and play as small as you can play. That's really the answer, because you're not bankrolled for 1-2, which is the most common game. So how do you combat your how do you combat any instincts that you have? Learn to play better. Don't play based on instincts, play based on math. 1-1 is a rake trap. Well, it depends on the rake. If the rake's $3, it's fine. If the rake's $8, it's not, right? Do you recommend taking a shot at 2-5 with a $10,000 bankroll? Go back and watch the rest of this video. We've been streaming here for 50 minutes. The answer is yeah. If you're willing to move back down, give yourself $1,000, play two $500 buy-ins at 2-5, and if you lose it, move back down. If you don't lose it, you're off to the races. How long did it take to learn to multi-table? Not long. The easy way to multi-table is, let's say you're playing, say you normally play 1-2 no limit, or any game, move down to tiny stakes, and then play with the idea of, I'm going to learn to play quickly. So go from 2 tables to 4 tables and just play for like 8 hours. Then, the next day, add 2 more tables. The next day, add 2 more tables. The next day, add 2 more tables. Do this until you can play about 24 at a time. It might take you a while. It might take you like a month. But it is an important skill to learn. And if you can play 24 at a time, at the micro stakes, then you'll have no problem playing 6. Right? So then you can move back to your regular game and feel very comfortable with 6. 6 is going to feel like a snail's pace compared to 16 or 24 or something like that. Are the low stakes games hard to beat due to rake? Depends on how much rake they take, right? All these questions you all are asking me, it seems like you're missing that there's more to the question than just, can you beat this game? Or how many times do I need to play? You're missing the main components. Time doesn't matter. What matters is the number of hands you play. The rake actually doesn't matter either. Well, it's relevant. But what's really important is how bad are your opponents. Imagine you're playing a game where everyone folds literally every hand. Rake's $100 if you see the flop. Well, raise every hand, and if they fold, you win every pot. And they're going to fold every time, I just told you. So you can beat that game even despite a $100 rake. What if your opponents never fold anything? What if they literally always call down with any single hand, but the rake is 10% uncapped? You're still going to crush that game because your opponents are awful. If they're awful, you're going to win. Now, problem is they're not that awful. So now you have to figure out what is an acceptable rake. In some games, the games can be so soft where even relatively high rake is beatable. Okay. When do you recommend getting up from the table? What goals do you set? I don't have goals. Goals are irrelevant, I think. If the game, and in theory, actually, if you're winning in a game, you should not get up. Because you're winning. Don't think, oh, I'm going to play until I win 5 buy-ins. No, if you're up 5 buy-ins, it means you're in a good game. You don't want to quit a good game. So if anything, you need to quit when you're down. What I would always do is I would play 12 hours a day. And then if I got down 450 buy-ins, or 450 big blinds, which was 3 buy-ins at 510 back when I played all the time, I would quit. That happened maybe 1 out of, I don't know, 10 days. And then I'd quit. Because presumably if you're down 450 big blinds, the game's probably a little bit tough. So quit when the game's tough. We suggest moving up and try. I mean, we already discussed this. Go back and rewatch the video. Here to send your love for my dedication. Well, thank you, Andreas. I appreciate it. Have you ever had mental health issues? They thought I was depressed as a young person. I have severe ADD, according to a psychologist 8 or 10 years ago. How do you combat it? Focus your energy on things that are productive, as opposed to things that are not productive. I have focused my energy on helping all of you become the best poker players you can be. And I have not focused my energy on degenerate gambling or going out and partying or getting good at a specific video game, right? You can focus your energy wherever you want to focus it. You just have to find things that you like and things that you are passionate about and things that are big, right? What a lot of people make a mistake of doing is they focus on things that are very small, and then they master that thing, and they move on to something else immediately. But the idea of, I'm going to try to help every poker player who wants to get better, it's a big goal. It's a big, big goal. And it's kept me working hard for all of you for the last, 15 years. And something's telling me I'm going to be here for another 15, if not more. What's a decent rake? Is 6% against weak players manageable? Depends on what the cap is. Your big blind per 100 is at 6. Is that good? It's okay. It's not great. Do you ever play Magic? Not a ton. Actually, I haven't played in quite a while. Again, going back to focusing my effort on things that matter. I used to focus on Magic the Gathering all the time. And when my son was born, I had the epiphany that playing Magic the Gathering doesn't matter. I don't have free time. I have exactly enough time to do all the work I need to do. But yes, I'm good at Magic the Gathering. Okay. When you play online these days from New York, what site do you play on? I don't play online from New York. I've literally never played online poker from this apartment because I don't need to and I don't want to. I do not have to sit here and play small and medium stakes online games. And I don't want to be doing that. I'd rather be spending my time at home with my friends and my children and my wife, right? So what I do is I travel about once a month for about a week and I play a ton. And that's it. What do you think of Charlie Carroll's masterclass? I've not seen it. You have to realize I don't consume every piece of content out there. Would be good for my fans for me to play Heads Up Pablo in Omaha against Phil Galfond. No thanks. It's very important to realize what you're good at and what you're not good at. I actually did briefly contact him about it, wanting to play a short challenge, like 5,000 hands, 10,000 hands. I would do that if he gives me like 5 to 1. Because I don't know how to play Heads Up PLO at all. I told him I literally never played a hand in my life. I think I played I played more than one hand in my life, but I played something like, 5 hours in my life. And what kind of odds would you give someone who's played 5 hours of a game in their life, knowing that I have infinite resources to many of the best players in the world, give me a month to study, 10,000 hands, so there's a lot of variance, would you give me 5 to 1 on 200K? I'd take that bet. But he wants it to be where he's, if you have an edge, you're just going to win. How do you when keeping track of your win rate live, do you document every hand where you played? No. You just need to figure out when you buy in, how much you buy in for. When you lose, when you buy in, how much do you buy in for. When you cash out, how much do you leave with. And that's it. And then you play roughly like 30 hands per hour. That said, when you're trying to learn how to play poker, you need to keep track of your hands. You need to be sharing these hands with players. And you need to make sure that you are working hard to succeed. Any money invested in Magic cards? My Magic collection's worth, suppose depending on how you value it, I don't know, 50K, something like that. Do you do meditation or mindfulness activity? Not a ton. I wish I did more. Wish I had time to do more. I wish I felt the need to devote time to do more. Is Zoom good for learning? It is good to learn GTO strategies. Do older people struggle more than younger people when starting out with the same IQ? I don't know the answer to this. Presumably, though, because older people have way more going on in life, whereas younger people typically don't have a lot going on in life, so they can devote more time to things. But I don't know the answer to this. This is a weird one. If you took an older person and had them devote their life to something like young people will devote their lives to things because they have nothing else going on, then I don't know. What bankroll do you need to play low stakes multiple tables online? Something like 8 tabling 25 cent, 50 cent. Well, you probably need something like 50 buy-ins, maybe 100, so $2,500, maybe $5,000. Wait, is that right? 50 to 5, yeah, something like that. That's usually going to be pretty decent, assuming you're already good at this. That said, if you're playing 2-5 live, I would just tell you to play 2-5 live. Why would you even want to play online? What's the ratio of bounty to regular tournaments I play nowadays? I'll just play whatever the high stakes tournaments are. I don't really care about bounty to no bounty. I actually just put out a video on YouTube. Check it out. I share with you the progressive knockout bounty calculator I have, and I discuss some adjustments to PKO tournaments. What's my thoughts on growing my bankroll and through satellites? It's an awful idea. Read. What's the website? I think it's Jonathan. I don't know the link. Google Jonathan Little. Don't play satellites, and I'm sure it'll come right up. There's a lot of reasons to not play satellites. All right, everyone, I have to go. YouTube's going to cut me off in literally 1 minute. And I don't like being cut off. So I'm having a webinar today at 5 p.m. What am I discussing? 3 exploitative adjustments for beating the small stakes games. You can sign up for that. I'm sure there's going to be a link somewhere. Actually, maybe there's not. I don't know. I have a lot going on. So check out twitter.com/Jonathan Little. I'm sure a link will be there. If you do not have the link, email me at support@pokercoaching.com. We'll get you the link. How much did you study prior to playing small stakes? A lot. I spent a bunch of money on books, and I read all of them. How'd you keep your expenses low? I already owned my car. It wasn't a fancy car. It was like a $5,000 car. Mortgage was cheap. It was like $600 a month. Car insurance was like $200 a month. What else do you have? $800 a month in obvious expenses. $1,200 more for fun. There you go. The link is on Instagram. So yeah, if you go to instagram.com/jcardshark, there's a link right there to register for the webinar today. Man, I've been talking nonstop for an hour. This was a good topic. It got all of you excited. That's good. What books do I recommend for beginners? Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em. If you get through this book, you will be better than the vast majority of players you play against. You can find it at jonathanlittlepoker.com/mastering. It's a good book. It's all on range analysis. Realize it's not an easy book. It's not a tiny book. It's a big book. But poker's a big game, and you have to learn how to play fundamentally sound so that you know how to adjust and where to adjust from to take advantage of your opponents. If you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoyed this, click like, click subscribe. I appreciate it. Kevin tells me we have a new record of people here today. Good. Glad to hear it. Makes me excited, makes me happy. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, ways I can improve, let me know on Twitter @Jonathan Little. Make sure you sign up for the webinar today. I will be there at 5 p.m. to give you 3 great adjustments to crush the small stakes games, which will help all of you grow that bankroll. How do you click like on Twitch? I think you just click follow on Twitch. That's all you can do. I don't think you can like a video, but you can follow me. So follow me on Twitch. All right. I have to go now. I have less than a minute left. Enjoy yourselves. Holla, don't follow. I will see all of you again on Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, or later today in the webinar. Bye-bye.